Why bury the lead? This is why you buy the Bethune DB28GS yellow submarine. Dynamo-powered LED backlighting, including of the dive bezel. Is this as good as it gets? It is. Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, reach out to me, tmosso at thewatchbox.com. It's in the description below. Your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any Watchbox platform. Purchase and pricing, reach out to me, tmosso at thewatchbox.com. New for 2021 and built only in 25 pieces. This is the limited edition yellow submarine based on last year's breakthrough dynamically lit DB28GS Grand Bleu. This timepiece has a number of upgrades, aesthetic and technical, though for the most part it is the same lovable lug that debuted last year and immediately received note at the GPHG. The watch is 44 millimeters in diameter by 12.8 millimeters thick. It measures between 54.7 millimeters lug to lug, and thanks to the floating lug system, it goes down to as narrow as 51.7. So 3 millimeters of difference, 54.7, 51.7, and a 26 millimeter spacing between the lugs. Throw the watch on my 16 centimeter circumference wrist, and it is a wonderful fit. First, it's feather light, constructed mostly of titanium, zirconium, and sapphire. It is super easy to wear on the wrist. Eyes closed, you could almost forget it's there. It's low enough that it will fit underneath a fairly tight cuff. And as you can see, I've got plenty of clearance, and the watch actually conforms to your wrist with those spring-loaded lugs. The timepiece is comfortable, handsome, legible, and fun. Taking a quick look at the hardware and the software, you can see that the watch actually features two different tones of fired grade 5 titanium, and you can see that both tones are featured on the fired grade 5 titanium buckle. You can see you have the darker fire-colored or reddish-toned polished pin, and then the satin-finished yellow bronze of the buckle. You can also see that the shape of the buckle echoes the evacuated profile of these floating lugs. That's a patented system. If you look at the ogival or torpedo-like tips of the lugs, you can see the last styling vestige of the original 2002 DB1 chronograph designed by David Zanetta. That was a style touch-tone that's remained almost universal through Bethune's history. The rest of this watch is very much of the DB28 generation. Remember, in 2011, the original DB28 won the GPHG Aiguille d'Or, which was the grand prize at the Oscars of watchmaking. This watch continues in that tradition. There's a trigger to actuate the dynamo-driven LED system at 6 o'clock, and as you can see, the mid-case has a lovely anthracite coating over a zirconium core, making it both a nice tonal contrast and highly scratch-resistant. It is also very, very light. The watch is 105 meters water-resistant with a screw-down crown, and you can see it does have a chunky ratcheting dive style bezel, and while it is calibrated, it's also transparent, so the lights can actually backlight it, and you can see most easily the numerals and the indices when the light is on. I should also mention the watch has another method of luminant. It actually features AGT Ultra, the solid luminescent material created by James Thomson and Black Badger. You remember them, for example, on MBNF? Well, that's exactly what is on the hands of this watch, and unlike the original Grand Bleu, you can see that the entire shaft of the minute and hour hand here decorated with that luminant material so that they are easier to see at night and in the dark when the LEDs are not active. It has conventional luminova in that sense. Now, you'll also note that the depth of this dial is extraordinary. This dial is like looking into a Longa movement. Seconds hand at center, very uncommon on Bethune timepieces, especially the DB28s. You can see that the barrel bridge at center has been engraved with what Bethune calls a microlight engraving. This they use instead of, for example, conventional guilloche. It's more technical, but it requires the same amount of skill to apply. You can also see, as I tilt the watch through the light, just how many surfaces of the fired titanium have been black polished. Now, Bethune has patented the method for firing yellow and blue titanium, and it is an oxidation process, but whereas the blue can be held over the flame for a comparatively long period of time, the yellow, the red, and the brown requires considerably less time over the flame. Traditional finish is rife, as you can see on the edge of the barrel bridge as well as the edge of the balance bridge and the shock protection springs outboard. There is mirrored anglage laid down in the traditional fashion. So while it is high-tech in appearance and applications, nevertheless it is traditionally executed with black polished screws and satination on the wheels. The twin self-adjusting barrels are a patented feature of the DB28. Here it yields a 5-day power reserve, and there is a power reserve indicator over at 9 o'clock. You can also see the mechanism that underpins the power reserve on the reverse side, and the timepiece includes a number of patented elements centered around the balance. First, it's a full balance bridge, which is great for shock resistance, but then Bethune adds triple parachute shock protection. So 1, 2, and then a third Inca block shock protection system. This is used to better locate and better brace the balance against shock. Yes, to make it durable against tough use, but also to keep the balance and the balance staff centered and located in the name of chronometry that matters at de Bethune. In Lauberson, Switzerland, they only make about 150 watches a year, and they are all extraordinarily accurate. Triple parachute, triple shock protection is one reason. Now you can see the bridge itself has been fired, and it is also titanium. So is the balance. The company has at least 8 different patented original balance designs. All of them are designed to have a minimal coefficient of thermal reactivity so that they don't expand or contract dramatically in hot or cold weather. They also localize the majority of the mass outboard on the rim, which is best practice. As you can see, the white gold masses that supply most of the heft of this balance are completely outboard. They're also recessed to improve aerodynamics, and while that might seem like a small matter, remember 28,800 vibrations per hour times 24 hours, 365 days a year, small factors like aerodynamics matter. And because the balance and its rim with the spokes are all titanium, it has very little inherent mass, so those white gold masses keep the mass outboard. This is optimal for accuracy and resistance to bump, vibration, and shock-induced timing deviation. The hairspring, which you can see has an asymmetrical form to it. It's actually 2 pieces that are hand-formed and then clamped together to create the concentric breathing properties of a Breguet overcoil. So the watch has those concentric properties, whereas a conventional flat hairspring generally will breathe more or less in different orientations with respect to gravity. This one is always the same concentric breathing in any position. It's symmetrical in any position, but it doesn't have the shock susceptibility or the thickness vulnerability of an overcoil. Now there's more. There's an unlubricated silicone escapement of their own design, and of course the timepiece features a number of refinements like the use of sapphire inside the barrels to reduce the friction as the barrels uncoil, and the watch has a decoupler so you cannot accidentally manually overwind it. The system to light the watch works through 4 LEDs, 1 at each corner, and then there is a minute repeater style governor, and you can see it spins while the barrels discharge. The barrels power the light. You can see that the repeater governor spins and slows down the discharge of energy from the barrels. So once fully wound, you can get about 30 consecutive seconds of active lighting out of this system. You're going to want to wind the watch after, but if you just take quick bursts of light, you can run it almost indefinitely over a day. And remember, if you don't use the light system, you've got 5 days of power reserve. Hand-finished, extraordinarily engineered, unique from a brand that builds few watches and invests maximally in engineering and patents. This is the definition of integrity and innovation in independent horology. Reach out to tmosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details. And we are back with the DB28GS Yellow Submarine. I just wanted to emphasize that the watch does indeed have both a loomed bezel and loomed hands without the dynamic lighting, and that Black Badger AGT Ultra material has been expanded more extensively compared to the Grand Bleu as seen here on the Yellow Submarine.